and hide this. Okay, so I'm going to start at the very beginning because I'm not sure exactly how familiar any of you are with Google Slides or purchasing a Google Therapy Room. So I'm just going to start from the very beginning. When you go to purchase one, you'll find one. I'm assuming it's going to be on Teachers Pay Teachers. That is not the only option. I've seen a couple on Etsy, but the majority of them that I found have been on Teachers Pay Teachers. So you'll just find a store that you want to purchase from. I'm using my own store so that I don't have to actually pay any money for these to show you guys. So you will just find one, you'll add it to your cart, and then you'll be able to download it. So there'll be a button over here once you've selected the one that you want to purchase, and depending on who you're purchasing from, that could show up two different ways. So if you're purchasing from one of mine, it'll show up as a PDF. So you will click on download and it will show up down here as a PDF. So you will click on that PDF and it will open up on your screen. It should look something like this. And then you will just click on download right here. And once you do that, it's going to open up a copy document form. So this will force you to make your own copy of the Google Slides onto your own drive. So you'll just click on make a copy, and then I'll wait for that to open up. And so once you've done that, it'll put a copy of the room into your own Google Drive. So you can edit it. It won't change the original copy. That's the purpose of doing it that way, is just to prevent any mistakes from happening of editing somebody else's therapy room. Some people do it a different way where when you purchase it over here, it'll have a pop-up and it will say you need to allow Teachers Pay Teachers to access your Google Drive, and then it will automatically put a copy onto your drive. So either way, it's the same thing. Just one of them, you have to do an extra step of using the PDF, and the other one, you have to give them permission to access your drive. So that's the very first step. If you aren't sure how to get to your Google Drive after you do that, you will just go to Google or Gmail, and you'll see a little square over here next to your picture with 9 little dots on it. So you'll click on that, and then you'll just go down to Drive, and you'll click on that. So whatever you have purchased will show up in there. So this is what my drive looks like. I have a lot of different activities in here. Yours will look different, obviously, depending on what activities you have in yours. And I'm just gonna go ahead and close one of them so I don't have two opened up. So this is that's how you will get started right from the beginning. Are there any questions about any of that? Okay. So after you purchase your room, you will open it up. So I'm just gonna open up one that I put down here for this tutorial. So you can open up your therapy room. This is what it will look like. So this is kind of what it looks like in edit mode. This is not one therapy room. So if you purchase just one room, you'll just have just one little room on the left panel over here. This is a bunch of rooms all put together into one file. So this is what you would purchase if you purchased one that said like 6 slides or 3 slides or however many slides that it said. It would look like this with multiple slides on the left side. And each one could be a different room, or they could be different activities linked to one room. So it could really vary. So if you're in edit mode, this is how it opens up. This is when you can change anything in the room. This is not the Bitmoji I usually have in this room. I forgot to change that back from earlier. So I don't normally have one laying on the floor like that. So you will open it up like this, and if you want to use it with a client, you will click on present up here. So if you see on the right top corner, there's a little button that says present. So you'll click on that, and this is what it will look like to your clients. So it will be just look like a regular room. It won't have the things on the sides or any of the buttons along the top. And for these particular rooms, I have objects on the shelves, and that's how I get to all of the different rooms. So we usually start out in here and kind of go over what we're going to talk about for the day. I like to do a parent check-in and then a warm-up, and then we'll start an activity. So sometimes I do a normal activity just over video, just so that we're still having that face-to-face interaction. And then we'll jump onto the virtual therapy room activities just to keep the clients engaged a little bit longer and give them more options of things that we can do. So I'll show you a couple of examples. So you can click on, so we'll click on the fish tank here, and you'll see that will take us to my calm corner. And once you're in that room, so when you see people saying that the links are already there, or that there's 20 links in the room, or whatever they might be saying about the links, they're talking about the objects that are in the room have been linked to activities. So for example, I'll click on this mandala on the wall here, and you will see that it will open up an activity. So this one opens up a kaleidoscope painter, and then you can paint it, or the client can paint it if you've given them control of the remote. So it's just a little activity that you can do together. And then when you're done with that activity, you just close that window at the top, and you'll be back into the therapy room. So each thing in here is linked to something different. So that one had a mandala, the glitter jars down here. If I click on those, that will open up a different activity with some glitter that you can play with, and you can add different things over here. So they're all just different depending on which link that you click on. So we can close that one. And then once you're done with that room and you want to get back to that initial check-in room that we were in, all of the rooms have a star up here in the top right corner, and you can click on that star and it will take you back to the initial room. If you don't have that in your rooms, or if you purchased rooms that don't have that, you can also go down to the bottom down here and go to the different rooms by clicking the over arrows, and you can go to each room that way. And then you can go back to the beginning. You can't change the order when you're doing it that way, so you kind of have to go through each room, which is why I did it this way. So I'm going to put it back into edit mode and show you if you do want that in your rooms, the star. So all you have to do, or you can put any object there, it doesn't have to be a star. The star is just what I used for mine. You just click on the object. So we're going to click on the star, and you go up here and you click on the little insert link that looks like a paper clip up here, and you click on that, and then whatever slide you want it to take you to. So I made all of the stars take me to slide 1. So you would just click slides in this presentation here, click on that, and then you would just click on slide 1 and then apply. And then anytime that you click on that star, it will bring you back to slide 1. You can just copy that. So I just click on it, Control C, and then you can just go into each room and paste it in there into the room, and it will, well, that didn't work, so I wouldn't do that. So if there wasn't a star already there, it would have stayed on slide 1 and been linked to slide 1, but because there was a star there already, I think it confused it. So another thing that I do in my rooms is that you'll notice you can't really click on anything when you first purchase them, and some rooms will be like that and some won't, depending on who you purchase them from and if there's multiple rooms in there. So there's a rectangle over the entire thing. So the reason why I did that, I will show you. So if you see in this room, anything I click on, so if you can see my mouse, it looks like a pointer finger. And that means that anything that I'm clicking on is linked to something. So it's going to stay in this room if I click on it. So if I click on the wall, it will stay in this room. And if I click on one of the objects on the shelf, it will take you to that room. But if you don't have that rectangle there and so the butterfly room doesn't have the rectangle there because I'm still working on this room. I haven't put any objects in here yet. So if you look at the mouse on this one, it just looks like a regular mouse. That's how you can tell that the things that you're clicking on aren't linked to anything. So in this room, if you click on the wall, it will automatically take you to the next slide. So if you don't want the rooms automatically going to the next slide, especially if you're giving control of the remote to a client and they aren't aware of that, they might just click and it will go to the next room. So if you don't want that to happen, then that is where you can insert a shape. So you go up here to insert and you click on that, and then you'll go down to shape and you'll just go over to shape. You'll just insert a rectangle and you'll make it large to cover the whole thing. I go around the edges all the way on the outside of it. And then you'll make it transparent here. So you'll just click on the little bucket of paint and you'll click on transparent so that way you can't see it. And then you can right click on it and then go here to order and send it to the back. So that way, anything that is, oh, and then you also, sorry, one more step. You also need to link it. So you need to go up here to the little insert link and link it to whatever slide you're on. So this is slide 1, so this one is linked to slide 1. So that way, if they click on anything that isn't linked to something, it's just gonna stay on slide 1 because it's linked to slide 1. You will need to put the other objects in front. So anything that you don't want to be linked and you want it to stay in the room, like for example, this poster here, it's not linked to anything. So I don't want them to transition to the next slide if they click on it. So you would just send that one to the back. So you would just click on order, send it to the back so that it goes behind that rectangle, and that way it's linked to the same room. Does anybody have any questions about that process? Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next thing on my list. So there's 2 ways that you can add activities into your room. So if you want to add an activity that's linked to another Google slide, so for example, this parrot over here, say I want to have that linked to an activity that's in my Google Slides. So it's not a website, it's just an activity that I want to open up if I click on that parrot. So actually, I'm not going to click on the parrot because I already did that one earlier. So I'll click on these empowerment cards. So if I click on those, you'll see that it opens up an activity that is in my Google Slides. So I have this activity that I already created in my Google Slides and I wanted it to be in that room. So I just went up to File. I opened up the activity on my Google Slides. I went to File and then I clicked on Share. And then I just copied the link here and then in my Google slide, you would just link it like any other website. So you would just go up here to the insert link, you would copy that, you would have that link copied already, and then you would just paste it into here, and then you would click apply, and then anytime you click on that activity, it's going to take you to that activity. So the only downside of doing it that way is that when it does open up, it's going to be in edit mode, so you have to then click present. in order to use that activity with your client. So you'll have to do that every time if you add them into the room that way. So if you don't want to have to put it in present mode and you just wanted to open up in present mode, then the other option would be to go to File, go down here to Publish to the Web, and then once you push on that and publish it, it's going to give you a web link. So you can copy that web link and you can paste that onto the same place. And then once you do that, every time you click on that activity, it's going to open it up as a web link. So then you no longer have to put it in present mode. That is an actual web link, so anybody that gets a hold of that web link will be able to access that resource. One thing that I
Speak that again. I got really lost on that one.
Yeah, so if you want to make something as a web link, so you would go over here to File, you would click on File on the activity, you would go down here to Publish to the Web, and then click on Publish to the Web, and it's going to give you a link. So here, you would click on that link, copy it, and then you would just add it just like any other link. So you would go to the activity that you want to link it to, go up here to the Insert Link, click on that, and then paste it in, and then click Apply, and now that activity is linked to that web link. So because we published this to the web, anybody can access that. So this is a way if you want to give a client access to one of your activities or one of your therapy rooms, but you don't want them to have that access forever. Like say you just want them to access it for a day, you can publish it for a day, and then once you're done sharing that with them, you would just, So once you are done sharing it with them, you would just go back into your document that you had shared with them, which mine is in my activities. So I have to go in there to show you. So I published this one. So you would go back into the activity that you had published, and then you would just go to Publish to the Web again, and then you would just click Stop Publishing down here. So if you don't want them to have access to that any longer, then you just stop publishing, and now that link is no longer active and they can't access it any longer. When I do make web links for activities, I have a folder that I put them in that says published, just so that I can keep track of which ones have web links, and I can go back into them and stop publishing them if I want to. So I like being able to have that option to share them or to stop sharing them. So if you are going to publish them, I recommend keeping track of them somehow so that you can stop publishing them if you want to. So those are the two ways that you can link Google Slides. If you want to just link a website, then it's the same thing. You just so for example, this one is a website. So you just go up here to the URL and you just copy it and you just link it in the same way. So you can link any website to the objects that are in the therapy room. So you would just apply it that way, and now that one will be linked to that YouTube video. So you can change those links however you want. You can change the objects, you can change the links, you can change anything in the room. So you can really customize it to make it however you want. If you want to link multiple objects with one, so I'll show you an example. Let's see. So in this room, I wanted my Bitmoji, the fire, and this fox, and this little, I don't know, beaver looking thing to all be linked to one activity. So I inserted a text box. So as you can see, there's a text box that goes all the way around all of them. And then I linked that to the activity. So you can also do it that way. If you have bigger objects or bigger things that you want to link, you can just add a text box and you can link anything to that as well. So now anytime anybody clicks anywhere inside of this text box, it will take them to that activity. If you want to add another room, so if you purchased a room or a bundle of rooms like this, and there's either one room in there or there's more than one room, but you want to add another one, you can, so say I purchased this mindfulness room and I want to add it in with my other rooms. You just go over here on the left side. So over here where there's a number 1, you just right click on it and you click copy. And then you just go back to your slides that you want to put it in. You just choose where you want to put it, and then you just Control V to paste it in, and now it will be in there as well. All of the links and all of the things will still work. It's just added to this one instead of being in a separate one. You can also copy an entire presentation. So you can either go onto the drive and right click on it and then make a copy here. So that's one way to do it. So that will make an entire copy and add it to your drive. So as you can see, the copy just showed up right here. You can also make a copy from inside of the presentation. So you can go to File up here in the top left corner, go down to make a copy, and then you can click Entire Presentation or select Slides. So you have either option for making copies of your presentation. I always make extra copies just because I'm worried I'm going to mess one of them up. So I do recommend having just like a folder with all of your kind of hard copies of your therapy rooms or activities just in case. You can also turn any activity into a PDF by doing this as well. So you can click on File, and then you can go down to, let's see, Download. And then once you click on Download, you can choose PowerPoint and turn it into a PowerPoint presentation, or you can choose PDF and turn it into a PDF. So if you turn it into a PDF, you just click on PDF, and then it will download onto the bottom of your screen or wherever however it works on your computer where your items download to. This was a big one, so it's still downloading. I should have chosen a smaller one for this example. But as soon as it's done downloading, I will show you what that looks like. So everything in the room downloads. If there's anything that's moving, so for example, in this room, as you can see, the butterfly moves. Once it turns into a PDF, then those objects won't move anymore. So this is what the PDF would look like. It still has all of the slides in it, and all of the objects still work. So you can still click on like the fishbowl and get to that room. You can still click on the mandala that we clicked on earlier and get to that activity. So all of the stuff still works. It just doesn't have the animations that it has in the Google Slides if you're using it that way. Another thing that I like to do with the PDFs is that, say I have a client and I was working on activities with them and we didn't have time to finish, or I wanted them to continue working on something on their own. I have a blank template that I like to keep, and it just says at-home activities on it. So I'll just add a Bitmoji to it, depending on what activity it is. So for this one, I'll just choose my yoga Bitmoji, and you can copy anything out of the room. So say I want this client to work on this activity that's linked to this Good Vibes Only poster. So I could just copy that, paste it into the room, and then just put it wherever you want it to be at. And then if you have something else, like say I want them to work on this little owl, you can paste that in there. And then you can just turn that into a PDF. So you can just go to File, Download, PDF. And then once you open that, you can click up here on the right corner to download it onto your computer, and it will save a copy into your files wherever you save it at. And then you can email it to the client and they can do these activities too. So they can still click on any of the things that you copied and pasted into the room and they'll still be linked. So that's a really fun way to kind of send them activities to do on their own. Um, One last thing, and then I'm going to see if there's any questions. If you want to add your own Bitmoji, you um, you need to get the Bitmoji extension for Google Chrome. So you need to just go to Google and Google the Bitmoji extension for Chrome, and then click on that. And then mine says remove from Chrome because I already have it, but if you don't have it, then it's going to give you the option to install it. And so once you install that, and I pinned mine to my toolbar, so if you pin it, it'll just stay up here in the top right corner. Once you do that, you can change any of the Bitmojis in any of your rooms. So this is what my Bitmoji would normally look like in this room. And I changed it earlier to the other Bitmoji. So you would just delete the Bitmoji that's in there, pick whichever Bitmoji you want in there, put it in the room, and then you can move it around. You can make it smaller, bigger, however you want. And then if you noticed when I did that, I just moved this rectangle up that covers the room. And then once I'm done, I just put it back down. So if you want to keep those rectangles there to keep them linked to that room, then I just move them out of the way and then move them back down so that they're still working. So that's kind of everything that I wanted to cover as far as the basics for how to use the virtual therapy room. This is saying that we only have about 7 minutes left. So are there any questions that anybody has or anything that I didn't cover or that didn't make sense?
Can you tell us how to share the remote?
So yeah, so sharing the remote, it doesn't show you guys on your end how it looks on my end. So the floating panel I told you about, that would be at the top. It'll show a remote control. So it'll have once you share the screen, there'll be a little green bar at the top of the screen and it will say you're sharing your screen, and then it'll say you can stop sharing it. If you hover over that, there'll be a floating panel that will come down, and then there'll be a button on there on the right side that says remote control. So you just click on remote control and it will give you the option to share it. So who asked that question? I'll share it with you and see if it works.
It's Angela Petrie.
Okay, so I just clicked on your name and it should have given you the option to use the remote. Can you try it and see if it works?
Moving the remote around. I don't know if that work.
I don't know where. Yep, you're moving it. So yeah, it's working. So you can try, you can click on anything in the room and you can see that you have access to the remote.
Okay, great. So the drop down up here is what you went to and you hit give up remote control.
Yep, so I went to that drop down up there. There is one thing, if you give the client remote control of the remote and then you click on anything, so I gave you control. So now if I click on anything, then it gives the control back to me. And if you're on a tablet on your end, then there's something that you would have to click on to kind of get that control back. I'm not exactly sure what it says because I've never been on the other end of it, but if some people say that they don't have the option to share the remote, go into your Zoom settings and it's something that you have to enable. So if you're not seeing that option, then just go into your settings and find it in there and then enable it, and then it should work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're on Zoom, how do we access the rooms so kids can use them? What's the first step to get?
So let's see, I'm going to hide this floating meeting control. So when you're on Zoom, the first step is to share your screen. So
Okay.
you do that at the bottom and you share the screen. And then I always have my drive already opened. So I would have it, mine would look really similar to this. So I would share the screen and then this would be on my screen already. And then I would just click present up here and then
Okay.
in the room. So you can't click present first. So you have to kind of have it in edit mode and then click present. And then if you ever want out of it, you can just press escape. So that'll take
Thank you.
back. Mhm. Does anybody else have any questions?
There were some questions in the chat. I don't know if you got a chance to see them.
I have to stop sharing to look at the chat. So let me try and take a look and see chat. So after you finish presenting, do the changes that are made by the client within the PowerPoint while presenting revert back to the original. So the client won't be able to make any changes. So when you're with the client in the presentation, you'll just be able to click on the links because you'll be in present mode. You won't be able to edit anything. So they wouldn't be changing anything, if that makes sense. Do the links come with the slides or do we add those to it? So the links, most of the time the slides are coming with the links. So all of the ones that I sell come with everything linked in the rooms, and I think that's pretty standard for all of the ones that I've seen on Teachers Pay Teachers. But sometimes you might want to change the links, so that's why I went over that, because sometimes they're not going to be the links that you want them to be, or you might have something that you want to change it to. So they will come with those links, but you can change them to whatever you want. So the purpose of the rectangle is so they won't click another slide. Yes, the purpose of the rectangle is so that it won't transition to the next slide if they click on something that doesn't have a link on it. How do you add the Bitmoji again? So the Bitmoji, you'll have to get the Bitmoji extension. So you will go to the Google Bitmoji extension for Chrome, and then you will install that onto your computer. And then I pinned mine to the top toolbar, so you can pin that, and then you'll just copy and paste them into the rooms. And I'm in Zoom. How do I access this to use? I think I already answered that one. What about the ones where they can move objects? So if they can move objects in rooms, that means that it's in edit mode. So that means that those slides that person created, you're not using them in present mode, you're using them in edit mode. So if you're doing that, then yes, they're going to be changed and you have to move everything back before you use it with the next client, or you can make extra copies of it and use different copies with different clients. But yeah, those ones, they will move. Does this only work? I've never tried this with Safari, so I can't answer if this only works with Chrome and not Safari. Do you have any for older teens or adults? I don't have any for older teens or adults just because I work with young children, but there are other sellers on Teachers Pay Teachers that have them for all different age ranges, so you just have to go on there and search. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think that answered all the questions, and this is going to end in about 30 seconds. So I'm just going to go ahead and end the session. Feel free to message me if you guys have any other questions or if there was anything that I didn't cover. I tried to cover everything, but those are the only things I could think of. So let me know if there's anything else. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. This was awesome.
You're welcome. Whoever said, I don't know who said that, but you're welcome.
Yes, I really learned a lot. Thank you.
Okay, bye, guys.